Welcome to ECE 403, Senior Design 2, week number 2. This week we're going to look at standards, project management, and OneNote. Now, just as a reminder, this is part of Senior Design 2, a course taught at NDSU. If you go to Bison Academy, that's the semi-official website for the ECE department at NDSU, click on Senior Design 2, that takes you to the webpage for that course. Under week number 2, here's the lecture and the slides and video. Videos aren't posted yet, but shortly, once I complete these videos, they will be, along with the homework sets. So continuing on with week number 2. Now the first thing we want to cover this week are standards. This is one of the ABET requirements. In senior design, you need to design something relevant or related to the standards that are applicable. There's many different places to get standards. A standard is an established norm that specifies engineering methods, processes, and practices. And there may be standards related to your project. Some places to go look for those standards are the American National Standards Institute, Code of Federal Regulations, European Telecommunication Standards, International Communication Standards, and here's the link, IEEE, ISO, various places. Kind of what I want you to do in the homework set number 2 is kind of cruise through these different standards. You can click on this one. Here's the web page. And search. See if you can find something related to your project. And a couple more. International Telecommunications Union, NIST. In homework set number 2, the first part is have members of your group check out those different standards organizations, look for a standard that's related to your project, and in OneNote, create a section for homework set number 2, have a page related to standards. Under that page, include what standards you searched and what relevant standards you found, if any. So sometimes there are standards related to your design, oftentimes there aren't. If there are any, it's nice to know what those standards are. Okay, carrying on. Second thing we want to talk about is OneNote. Now, all your work, as mentioned before, is done in OneNote. There is Blackboard for Senior Design 2. Nothing's really submitted on Blackboard. Everything you submit is on OneNote. OneNote works really well for Senior Design. OneNote basically acts as your diary. Everything that you do goes into OneNote. Kind of way to record what you've done. OneNote is very versatile. You can add text, photos, videos, Word documents, spreadsheets, stuff like that. Kind of one comment. As you're working on your tasks, update your OneNote on the fly. It's a whole lot easier taking a picture, taking recordings, submitting it on OneNote as you complete the tasks. Then at the end of the semester, when you notice that, hey, my notebook's empty, I'm getting an F, I need to document what I've done, then you have to go back and redo everything that you did over the semester to document your OneNote document. That's kind of a time sink. You're busy in the last 2-3 weeks of the semester. As you're going through the semester, as you work on your tasks, update your OneNote document week by week. OneNote makes grading really easy. All I have to do as the instructor is go to your OneNote document and I can see your work. I can see what you've done. I can look through it and see, did you apply knowledge of ECE as you did so? It makes revising your grade really easy. In other classes, when you submit your homework, that grade is fixed. In this class, you can revise your grade on a weekly basis. Grades are updated every 2 weeks. If you get like 2 out of 10 on one of your homework sets, you're more than welcome to go back, revise your OneNote, add information to it, and improve your grades. Note that the last revision for your OneNote document is Friday of Dead Week. I kind of spend finals week grading your OneNote document, getting final grades for senior design. Also, OneNote makes transitioning to Design 3 really easy. You just take your OneNote document, use the same one when you go to Design 3. All your work is already there. Also, OneNote is a real time saver for you as a student. It used to be that there was a heinous 50-page report due at the end of Design 2 and Design 3. Well, no more. Your OneNote document is basically your final report. So OneNote we're going to be using extensively. Our next thing to talk about today would be your project charter in OneNote. The project charter is part of homework set number 2. In homework set number 2, it's set up a OneNote document, one document per group. Make the name of your OneNote document SD403 XXYY, where XX is the semester, YY is your group number. Include your contact information. That's kind of useful for you and the instructor. If you want to get a hold of someone else in your group, here's how you get a hold of them. Have the next section. That's homework set number 2, your project charter. In the project charter, you've got your project description, your charter, that's your deliverables, key elements, time allocated, budget, bi-weekly meeting dates, relevant standards we just worked on, and work breakdown structure. In week number 1, you picked your project. By this point, you should know what project you're working on. So that's your project and project description. Come up with the project charter. Again, the project charter is probably the most important document in your whole project. It defines the deliverables, defines the key elements of your project, defines the time allocated, and your budget. Now, the deliverables vary project to project. The key elements also vary. The time allocated, though, is kind of fixed. That's 2 semesters. Senior design is a 2-semester sequence. And the budget, most projects are about $300 budget. In terms of the work breakdown structure, once the project is defined, the next task is to split the project into smaller tasks, kind of a divide and conquer technique. Once the tasks are small enough, you can start knocking them off one by one. So this is kind of one of the design techniques. I've got a large project to work on. How do I tackle a large project? Well, one approach is split it up into smaller bite-sized pieces, then start working on those pieces one by one. That's kind of the point behind the project, the work breakdown structure. I want to get down to this level, level 4, where I have the individual tasks defined. Now, in the work breakdown structure, it has 4 different layers. The first layer is your project charter. Need to work on that, update your OneNote document to include the project charter. Level 2 is split the project. In companies, you might have the mechanical design, electrical design, manufacturing. Our projects are small enough, you really don't need to split it at level 2. You just have the 3 students in your group working on it. Level 3 is, I've got the large project. How do I split it up? You might split it up along software, hardware, along sensors, actuators. How do you split it up? And the real goal is to get to level 4. Level 4 are the individual tasks that need to get done. So this is what I'm really shooting for. I want to know what is it I need to do to complete this project. Now there's a couple of ways to split up a project at level 3. So to give an idea of what this is like, suppose we look at the candy dispenser. This is a design project from a couple semesters ago. Here's how it works. Here's the candy dispenser. You push a button. To retrieve them, I stick my hand under. Here's my Skittles. Now suppose that was your senior design project. I want to build that. That's a rather large, complicated design. It's too much to handle all at one big chunk. Well, to solve it, use the divide and conquer technique. How to split it up into smaller parts. And there's a couple of different ways of splitting it up. One option, I could split it up among sensors, actuators, and packaging. Those are the sensors, things that detect inputs, like the push buttons, lights, stuff like that. Actuators would be the outputs, lights, motors, conveyor belt, solenoids, and packaging, putting it together so you can be portable. That's one way to split it. Another way to split it is software, hardware, mechanical. So how you split it up is kind of up to you. The real goal is to get to level 4. These are the lists of all the tasks that really need to get done. This list is really important. That kind of defines what you're going to do in Design 2 and 3. The list is what we'll be using in homework set number 3 as you split your tasks among members of the group. The list defines what you're going to do the rest of Senior Design 2, the tasks that you start knocking off one by one. So the list kind of determines what you're going to do. It kind of determines your grade in Design 2. This list is really important, so when you get to homework set number 2, put some time and effort into coming up with a list of tasks that need to get done. For example, with the candy dispenser, if I split it up under sensors and actuators, I can say the sensors, I've got a button, an optical sensor. That's when I detect the candy drops through a chute. I run the conveyor belt until the candy drops down. Stop the conveyor belt when the candy is dispensed. A rain sensor, when I stick my hand underneath, it detects my hand and dispenses the candy. Those are the sensors. Under actuators, I've got lights, solenoid that taps the top of it to get the Skittles to come out, a DC servo motor to rotate the top assembly to select the left or right set of candy, a stepper motor to drive the conveyor belt. Different tasks getting those to work. Under software, I can select a microcontroller capable of reading sensors, driving the actuators, select a programming language that everybody can live with. Under packaging, lay out the candy dispenser, where the different parts are, how to make the different parts with the 3D printer. All those are different tasks, and there's many others. So the task list is really important. That's kind of come up with a list of everything that needs to get done to have a successful project. Next thing is the Gantt chart. This is part of the work breakdown structure. It's under time. I have the different tasks. When are they going to get done? At this level, for the overall project, the Gantt chart is kind of the same for everyone. It's dictated by the semesters at NDSU. In Design 2, the first tasks are select a project, define the work breakdown structure, and then start working on the tasks one by one. Then Design 2 ends. Design 3, once I've knocked off the tasks, now put them together in a single working device at the breadboard stage. Once my breadboard works, convert it to a PCB. Once the PCB works, package it. So the Gantt chart, this is kind of the same for everyone in Design 2. When we get to homework set number 3, these different tasks, that's going to vary student by student. But that's what a Gantt chart is. What the Gantt chart does is it kind of shows how do I take the entire project and finish it under my allotted time, 2 semesters, and how much time is allotted for each task. In terms of project management, back in Design 1, we used waterfall. In Design 2 and 3, you're free to use any project management technique you like. The point behind project management is to increase the odds of your project being successful. Again, we want the project to be successful, so do use some form of project management. What you use is your pick. It could be critical path, waterfall, agile, total quality management, whatever. Do something though. Kind of quick review of what we covered back in 401. 401 is what we used back in Design 1. With waterfall, the idea is typically there's a bunch of different tasks that need to get done sequentially, so start knocking out the tasks one by one. For example, back in Design 1, the tasks were come up with the requirements, paper design, simulation. Once it works at the simulation stage, transfer to a breadboard. Once that works, build a PCB, test the PCB, and then package it. We didn't actually do packaging in 401, but we will in 405, 403, 405. That's waterfall. In senior design, again, that works really well for some projects, others not so well. When you do senior design, waterfall can work and waterfall can be agile. As you go through the different steps, I can get feedback from the customer to find out that once they know the requirements, the customer could adjust them. Once I design on paper, that'll give the customer some ideas what it's going to look like, make some suggestions. Again, keep on making refinements, suggestions, changes as you go through stage by stage. This is actually pretty common. Most customers don't know what they want until they see it. So as they get a better and better idea of what the final product's going to look like, they'll get a better and better idea of what they really wanted instead. So you are able to adjust your design on the fly with a waterfall technique. That's one option for Senior Design 2 and 3. You could use waterfall. Critical path is another approach. Critical path says, of the different tasks that need to get done, some of them have to be done in a certain order. The critical path says, look for the longest path from start to end. Make sure that you're working on these tasks at any given time, because if I don't, I postpone the end date. The other tasks you kind of throw in there as needed, as they fit. These need to get done before you finish, but when you take them, doesn't really matter, long as, in this case, you've got the prereq done, long as you're ready to start that task. That's critical path. What critical path tells you is what activities have to be worked on at any given time, because if you don't, you postpone graduation or you push back the end date. So if you look at your tasks, there's some of them that really have to get done in a certain order, and there's a really long path from beginning to end. Those are the ones you need to focus on. The other ones kind of fit in those tasks as time allows. That's the second approach. Third approach for Senior Design is Agile. Agile is an iterative design. Instead of knocking out the tasks one by one, it's kind of come up with a prototype. Once that works, improve it. Once that works, improve it even more. That's the idea behind Agile. As an example, if I want to build a stoplight, what I might do is, first iteration, come up with user interface. I want a cell phone app that shows what the stoplight is doing, and I have a stoplight that just goes green, yellow, red, green, yellow, red. Once I get that to work, now add the hardware. I want to have the hardware with the physical light being green, then yellow, then red, all viewable through the cell phone app. Once that works, I'll then add features. I want to add a walk button, or so on and so on. That's the idea behind Agile. Go through the entire design sequence on something simple, then start adding requirements, adding features. Fourth one we looked at is total quality management. This addresses the problem that companies oftentimes have. There's a thing called throw it over the wall. If I have a design, I'd have the hardware group come up with the first iteration, take their design, throw it over the wall to software. Software looks at the design and says, this is nuts, this is wrong. They'll redesign the hardware, then write the software. When they're done, throw it over the wall to manufacturing. Manufacturing then looks at it and says, we just can't live with that. They'll redesign the hardware, redesign the software, and then get ready to manufacture it. That's kind of inefficient. What TQM says is, when you start the project, come up with a design that everybody can live with, so I don't have to keep on redesigning it along the way. Once the design is something everyone can live with, then knock off the hardware, software, and manufacturing. That kind of relates to Senior Design. If you're going to have a microprocessor in your design, one approach is to have everybody use their own processor in Design 2. That's going to cause problems when you get to Design 3 because they have 3 different processors. It'd be nice if at the start of Design 2, you talk with everyone in the group and ask, what requirements do I need? What does the microcontroller have to be able to do? How many I/O pins? Which I/O capability do you need? Do you need Bluetooth? Do you need Wi-Fi? Do you need A to D converters? If so, how many bits do you need? Pick a microcontroller that everybody can live with. So when you get to Senior Design 3, you're using the same microcontroller. In terms of programming language, what capabilities do you need? Do you need interrupts? Do you need Bluetooth? Do you need Wi-Fi libraries? Do you need touchscreens? Do you need videos? Find a programming language. Assembly, C, Python, Java, whatever. Pick a language that everybody can live with so that when you get to Design 3, I'm not trying to interface C plus assembler plus Python. You just stick with one language. The hope is you don't need to redesign something when you get to Design 3. That's TQM. In terms of Design 2 and Design 3, use whichever form of project management you like, but do something. Don't just have ad hoc designs, because you want to have a successful project. Your grade depends on it. As long as you complete your project under the constraints of time, budget, and scope, you meet the expectations of Senior Design. Again, the point behind project management, though, is to increase the odds of having a successful design. In terms of homework, if you go to Bison Academy under Senior Design 3, make that Design 2, 403, homework set number 2. Here's homework set number 2. Homework set number 2 is to create a OneNote document, one document per group. Name the document SD403 XXYY, where XX is the semester, YY is your group number. Have the first section being your contact information, the second section being homework 2, project charter. Within the project charter, have 4 separate pages: the project description, project charter, bi-weekly meeting dates, relevant standards, work breakdown structure. Then start filling in these pages. Project description, a short description of the project. Project charter, the deliverables, key elements, time allocated, budget. Bi-weekly meeting dates, set up bi-weekly meeting dates with your group and your sponsor. Put the dates in your OneNote document. Relevant standards, we talked about early. Search different standards, note the standards that you searched and any relevant standards that you found. And then the work breakdown structure. That'd be the major activities, level 3, and the tasks. Emphasize the tasks. This is a big, long list of everything that needs to get done for a project to be successful. Focus on the tasks. That's really important. That kind of dictates the following homework sets. That dictates what you're going to be doing in 403. If you are kind of stumped, trying to figure out what to do, meet with your sponsor. Sponsor can kind of help. Meet with the instructors for the class. We can help as well. Come up with a list of tasks. And that's week number 2 for Senior Design 2 ECE 403.